Hey everyone, this is Josh here, the Best with Matt, and we have an exciting day today. Not so much for the broader market, and maybe not for anyone who's reporting earnings after the bell today. I don't think you could have picked a worse day to have to report this evening. With the S&P down almost 2%, QQQ was down over 2%. Let's see where it's at now. Yeah, 2.1%. IWM is almost down 3%, which is where TSSI will live in the Russell. So it's not looking great from a broader perspective, but we'll see what happens. I still have high hopes that they will deliver a strong quarter based on their guide. They should. Uh, and the procurement schedule for government purchases that would impact their bottom line, those typically occur in Q3. So that should be another tailwind for them heading into this earnings. So let's take a look at the chart and we'll try to do it live as they pull it up. They should report right after the bell. They're down, they were down as much as 8% today. So the implied move for earnings is, I think, 18% for them. So we'll see if we get a big move. I mean, just if they do go up 18%, and they do hit what we think they will for earnings, which for me, I'd like to see back up towards, north of 100 million in revenue, which would be a record for them. I know it's asking a lot, but this is the quarter where they should see an increase in procurement. I think if they can do, you know, what was it, 99 million in Q1 for total revenue with the new data systems integration facility fully online for this entire quarter. If AI really is churning things out and they are getting, the same amount of work from Dell that we would expect, just based on what hyperscalers are saying, what we're seeing from others in the AI space, you would think that they would beat. So, I mean, I'd like to see a revenue mix, with more data systems integration, since that's where their higher margin is. It's typically around, 30%, whereas procurement is like 3 or 4%. So not very exciting if it's all procurement. But we'll see what happens here in about 2 minutes. And I think they usually report pretty close to after the bell. At least I hope they do, because I have to run and get my daughter here in a little bit from school. So let's try and share this Chrome tab. And it should allow me to flip back and forth and get my stupid face out of the way. All right, so yeah, not a great day. Honestly, since it peaked out, I think it got up to about 21 just like a week ago. It's done nothing but bleed out. And a lot of that, again, is just the broader market and what's going on there. Um, it's kind of been range bound between 13 and 20, which is still very good. I mean, if you think where they were a year ago when I first started covering this stock, it was, it's like $8. So sitting here around 16, they've done well, but they need to show that they can continue the growth trajectory that they were on leading into this year. And that's just really not what they've done to this point. Um, but hey, it's a new quarter, should be a strong quarter. Um, this is really the only thing I'm in for earnings today. I do have some DGXX shares, but I sold all my calls when I saw that their um, proxy vote was just going to be for like additional shares and for like executive leadership choices. With that being said, now that I've sold a lot of it, it'll probably like triple overnight, because they'll say something like, we have a partnership with OpenAI or whatever. Which, yeah, great. I hope they do. But of the two, I think fundamentally it's obviously TSSI is the better one. I mean, they're net profitable and have been for 6 quarters now in a row. This will probably be the seventh. So we'll see. What's up, Carlos? What's up, Redline? All right, here we go. Random spike at the close. I doubt it's out that fast. Maybe it is. Also, Robinhood can be very glitchy at times, so it wouldn't surprise me if it was just a glitch. The one thing with desktop is it's been really hit or miss for me. I don't know what everybody else's experience has been like, but we'll see. I'm gonna pull up. I usually look at oddly enough, I pull up Schwab because they're really fast for news. I wish Robinhood would do a little bit better job um, with their news. It doesn't update very quickly. So, like on earnings day, when you're trying to really get in and see what's happening, especially if you're in shares and you can actually sell out of it, if you do have bad results. The other thing you can look at is the Edgar website. The 10Q should be here. I don't know that it necessarily gets here that fast. But I think it usually, like, you'll see it hit the wire first, and then like within an hour or two or the next day, depending on the company, you'll see it show up the SEC where you can view their full report. That's what I like to look at because it, like, I don't, the company is always going to paint it in a good light, whether it's good or not. And the same for analysts. If it's, they're, obviously will have a bias. So I like to just sit down with the SEC filing. That's what they're actually looking at, and that has their raw numbers in it. And I try to base my decisions off of that. Now, I do listen to the earnings call just because they might say something in the call like, hey, we're looking for additional partners, or we've been talking to additional partners outside of Dell. Although they did make it pretty clear on the last earnings call that they weren't really going to look outside of Dell. I think Dell kind of has them like bent over the barrel right now. 18p, is that a sold put or a bought put? Because if it's a bought put, it would be pretty. They would really have to miss. I feel like sold put. Okay, wow, that's brave. I mean, I do like that though. I like selling puts because I mean the outcome ultimately is if it doesn't pan out, you end up with shares that you can sell cover calls against, or you can just sit and hold it and kind of chill. All right, it keeps bouncing around here in like a 60-cent window. The other thing with this stock is it's so thinly traded that it moves like crazy aggressive. Like the spread on this now is like $1, which is insane. I still don't have anything, at least not on Schwab. Usually you can see it move on the chart first before you'll get any news, which kind of sucks. Because it tends to make you want to feel kind of emotional about what you should do before you actually have any of the information. I've seen it too many times where a stock either pumps or dumps on earnings, and then like within 30 minutes it'll reverse, or they'll have the earnings call and they'll say something and it'll reverse. Um, Amazon is really really bad about that. It'll jump like 10%, and then before, like right when the earnings call starts, it'll drop and lose all of it. It was great. So I think TSSI is actually one of the highest expected moves today. With that said, watch Theta Gang just absolutely win, and it just doesn't move. Like, I don't like the broader market just being so shitty today. What did SPY close at? Down 1.5%. Like, we got a little rally into the close, but I mean, we really didn't close much off the low of the day. And the VIX got as high as I think 21 at one point. It was up like 20% at the high. So yeah, it pulled back, but that's probably just people taking, into close, getting out of hedges. Let's get back to TSSI. The other one I was kind of interested in was DGXX. Let's see if they reported. I don't think their earnings really matter. This play is just another miner turned energy infrastructure for AI type play. They do have an interesting concept, which is modular data centers. So they can deploy them much faster than traditional data centers, which would give them a unique advantage, I think, over some of the larger like IRNs, Nebius, those types of plays. And their market cap is like 150 million, and they have 850 million in assets and cash. So like even if you don't count their equipment, which is pretty expensive, right? Because it's AI equipment, and they have an energy facility. Even with that, like they're trading at basically the cost of what their infrastructure value is, their enterprise value. So I don't know how much lower it could go, but it could be something that just takes a while. And we got 14. Well, that sucks. Oh, let's see. It must be out. So fiscal results for Q3. Dun, 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 dun. Revenues of 41 million. So yeah, this is pretty terrible. Down 40%. Procurement was very low. Systems integration was 9 million, which was good. It is up, but I was still expecting, north of 10. Like honestly, at full capacity, their data system should be like 15 million a quarter based on what they have right now. I see earnings on Schwab. Hood's always super slow, and then Twitter is always behind because somebody has to take this and like post it. Um, I'm probably gonna sell a lot of what I have left in this. I'll wait and see what happens tomorrow. But the last 2 quarters have just been super disappointing. And it doesn't look like Dell is really giving them as much business as they need to run full capacity for data systems. Because this is low. Like they got 9 million for systems integration, which is like a record for them. Um, but it's not as high as it should be. I mean, it's like 70% of what they should be running at right now if they're using their facility to like the fullest capacity. And their guide, they raised EBITDA to 75% for the remainder of the year from 50%. I don't think they're even going to hit that. Let's see what their adjusted EBITDA was. It was up 59%. So it was actually higher, but it missed the 75% guide that they gave. EPS, it's all right, 0.1. So they're still net profitable. I just don't think it's going to do much. I feel like there's probably going to be better places to put your money um, longer term because now it seems like they're at a point where they're going to have to expand. Like the only way they're going to make more money because procurement has been flat. Like they're not. This was supposed to be their best quarter for procurement too because of government contracts. This is when the government tends to buy all their shit. Um, and they basically had the same revenue they had last quarter for procurement. Yeah, they did post earnings. So I'll go through real quick. Revenues were 41.9 million. This is actually down 40% year over year. Procurement revenues were 31 million, and then another 9 million of that was the systems integration. Both of those are misses from what I expected. Um, oh shit, I take it back. They actually had a net loss this quarter. This is the first quarter they've lost money in a long time. And they did that dilution a few months ago, and they didn't really say what they were going to do with it. I thought maybe they would pay off the facility that they just bought, or did they just build out in Texas, the new facility for the data systems integration. I mean, either this is concerning for the broader AI market to some degree, or it's just Dell, I think, is taking some of this work in house that they used to allocate to TSSI, and they're just doing it themselves now. I think they have a new facility that they're basically built out to do exactly what TSSI does. Yeah, I'm gonna sell some shares. If unless they come out on the earnings call and they say something crazy, like they have a new partner, I'm gonna trim some because this could go a lot lower, honestly, from here. So SMCI, they're like a bigger version of TSSI. I think their problem is the same problem that I just mentioned for TSSI, is that these larger players like HPE and Dell, Hewlett Packard, they're building their own facilities that are very big, and I think they're going to take market share away. SMCI, um, they're when they really took off a couple years ago, it was because they were the only person that could do this type of work at scale. The thing that's changed in the last couple of years is that there are much larger companies that are doing this type of work to get these data systems set up for the data centers. And so, I mean, for SMCI, that just means they have less business. And the expectations are already really, really high for them because they were like the main player in that space for AI for, basically by themselves for over a year. And they killed it when they were the only person, the only shop in town, but they're not anymore. And like they'll do fine. Like they're still gonna make money. Um, but Linus, I can't link it because I'm just looking at it on Schwab's app. Maybe I can do uh, screenshot. Actually, let me see if it's in the Edgar yet. Let me pull up in here. Yep, here it is. And if you want to, you can just screenshot it. But here, that's just assets, liabilities. Here you go. So I don't know if y'all can see that very good. I don't even know if it'll let me like snip it and put it in the chat for you. But this is like the overview of their earnings. No, that's not gonna let me do it. So, I mean, really, they missed on. They were net income negative. They lost money this quarter. Yeah, it's really fucking bad. I just sold a little bit earlier at like 13. I don't like this at all. Um, for this, the sector they're in is supposed to be super hot. Like if you're losing money where you were previously making money a year ago, that ain't good. And I think it's just Dell. I think Dell is just not sending them the business that they were at one point. The only way TSSI will get out of this now is if they find a new customer. It can't just be Dell. Like they're going to have other people. There's no reason that their facility isn't maximized right now. If everybody needs as much of this as they say they are, which unless the hyperscalers like Meta, Microsoft, Google, Amazon are all lying to us and telling us that they don't have enough and there aren't enough data centers and there isn't enough energy, then that TSI is just fucking up execution wise. I mean, there's really nothing else I can say. I mean, it just is what it is. So sorry, anyone who's in this. I hope you didn't have really short dated options. And if you did, I hope it was just for fun. I'm I'm gonna keep a little position. Like I sold a lot of this at 13 a moment ago when it was kind of hovering here. Um, but now you're just if you're gonna hang in here for this, you're just praying that their management either says something on the call, and it really needs to be. I mean, at this point, they need to say they have a new partner. They don't need to just say we're looking for new partners. Because last quarter, that was what they asked on that was like the most important question, and what really started this like causing the stock to tank was during the earnings call last quarter when they asked the CEO, "Hey, are you guys going to work with someone other than Dell?" He pretty much said, and you can go look at my X post. I talk about it there too. He basically said, "No, we don't want to upset them because they're our main customer, and we're going to keep going through them." And this looks to me like Dell used them as a stopgap until they could get their own facility up and running, which it is now to do this type of work. And their work that was going to TSSI, they're just doing it in house now. They're vertically integrating it. And you would think there are enough players out there that TSSI could partner with like, two or three different people to help them do their data systems integration and not just Dell so that they're not fully dependent on them. Because until that changes, this is dead money, honestly. All right, guys, I have to run and get my kid from school. This is a pretty shitty earnings. It's worse than last quarter, I think, because they've had more time and they had the facility running for the entire quarter, which they didn't last quarter. So yeah, it's a pretty bad look. All right, take care, everyone. See ya.